The CIA is spying on Americans. This according to 2 Democratic senators. Wow, you're not going to believe these allegations. This is absolutely insane, Orwellian, crazy stuff. And these are, again, Democratic senators that are coming forward with these allegations. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. Great to have you here. Just a quick reminder that portions of today's program are brought to you by Legacy Precious Metals. There's never been a better time, clearly with inflation these days, to invest in precious metals. So go to legacypminvestments.com. Again, legacypminvestments.com to check out how you can help protect your money. But back to this wild story. I mean, I'm just flabbergasted. I mean, I'm not really, because I think we all kind of suspect that there's some funny things that go on, some shenanigans behind the scenes. But Democrats blowing the lid off of this, quote, deep dive program that has allegedly been collecting Americans' personal information for years without any congressional approval to do so. So this, again, is according to 2 Democratic senators. You've got a Senator Ron Wyden out of Oregon, along with Martin Heinrich out of New Mexico, that sent a letter and to the CIA, and they want to know what the heck is going on, because they're calling these searches, these data searches that are being conducted as totally warrantless. They sent a letter to the top intel officials asking for and calling for more details to be revealed to declassify all of this, and they're demanding immediate action. I mean, what the heck is going on? We're becoming China. We are becoming China like every single day. The more we find out about, you can't have this viewpoint, you can't have that viewpoint, you're going to get canceled, you're going to be taken off of, the whatever platform. That's just like China. And now we learn that our own government is out there taking all this information and conducting these searches on us, according to these Democrats. I mean, I'll be very interested to see what the CIA says about this. But according to these Democrat senators, there's quite an operation. They're apparently called, and they're classified as Deep Dive 1 and Deep Dive 2. They're said to be massive data repositories with information secretly conducted through a bulk program on all kinds of Americans. I mean, my gosh. My gosh. And, you weave this together, these allegations, with what's happening right now in terms of the political environment, and it paints a very scary picture where we have to worry as everyday citizens about whether our rights are being trampled on. And believe me, if you ask me, they are. I mean, think about what's going on right now just with these truckers. And I realize it's in Canada, but I think it really, it helps speak to what's happening in the free world. The free world, not so free anymore, right? Now we've learned that Ottawa, Ontario, is declaring a state of emergency. And apparently Joe Biden has been very forthcoming to TRUDEAU, saying, you got to get a handle on this. And he's really urging him to have a tougher crackdown on these freedom convoys that are trying to stick up for everyday Americans. Very quickly, I just want to remind you that if you're watching this live, I'm going to be live on Locals right after this program today at 12 noon on Friday, live on my Locals channel. I'm live there every single Friday, so go and sign up. It's free to sign up. I'd love to talk to you. We have a whole great Q&A session, and we talk about all these issues one-on-one, and I'll be taking your questions and reflecting on some of your commentary, so join me over there. But let me just go through what's happening right now with Ontario being urged now to declare this state of emergency. They actually have declared it because of the thousands and thousands of truckers that are there on the scene peacefully protesting. But, apparently peaceful protests are not okay anymore. In part, they're upset because some of the roads are blocked, etc. But look, I don't remember this kind of reaction to the protests that we saw in the summer of 2020, right? Black Lives Matter protests. Oh, they're peaceful. I mean, everybody on CNN is trying to tell you they're peaceful. Is like things are burning all behind them. Come on. There was looting. there was tragedy there, and yet these particular protests now are coming up against all kinds of backlash. You saw what happened with GoFundMe, where effectively they took like $10 million from the truckers, money that was supposed to go to the truckers, and the police there in Canada contacted GoFundMe and said, no, you can't allow this money because this is for unpeaceful protests. And so GoFundMe reacted in a really draconian way. They're taking that money away. It's now allegedly going back to the truckers organization because Ron DeSantis down in Florida, the governor, was like, wait a second, that's like fraud. I mean, that you can't, the money was supposed to go to them. Well, now there's another organization that's been raising money online that Canada is saying, no way, it's not going to the Canadians. It's called Give, Send, Go, and they've raised about $8.6 million, and they're calling on the Give, Send, Go organization to freeze all that funding. It's a Christian fundraising site actually based in the U.S. So this is bonkers. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, you've got Joe Biden saying, look, you got to get this thing under control. So control, I mean, why not just say, look, maybe we've gone too far with all our mandates. Maybe this isn't really working for people. Maybe we actually screwed up, and maybe we just need to kind of ease back and let the people have a right to earn a living and to go about their business. I mean, maybe that's actually the answer they should be coming up with, as opposed to, no, we got to crack down, we got to crack down, we got to crack down some more. You think about these crackdowns, and you couple that with information we're getting today with Democratic senators alleging that there's a deep dive 1 and a deep dive 2 into American citizens that the CIA has been conducting. And it does not paint a very encouraging picture, okay? It really doesn't. I mean, you don't have to be paranoid to worry about things right now. Any common sense will tell you there is an effort to squelch any kind of thought, any kind of speech that is not in agreement with the status quo. And they say, oh, we're doing this in the name of science. It's all about science. What kind of science? Political science? That's what this is. This is political science. Everything has been so highly politicized, and it's a very dangerous place for us to be in. Meanwhile, you can understand why the truckers are upset. You can understand why everyday Americans are upset. Because you know what? Everyday Americans, they've gotten the short end of the stick in all of this. This inflation right now that is out of control, 7.5%. We talked about it yesterday, much higher than people thought. This is costing everyday families. There was a report in the Wall Street Journal just yesterday that when you look at it, it was somewhere around $280 extra. It was costing every family every month, a 40% increase in the price of gas, 27% increase overall in energy prices. You've got prices up nearly 8% now in the grocery store. I mean, this is not sustainable, and yet it's the new reality of what we're living in. And it's one of the reasons why I keep saying to people, you know what, think about your portfolio. It's going to be a lot of volatility for the foreseeable future. I am worried about the economy right now. Long term, look, I'm a big believer in America. I want to get that out there. I think that we'll get through this. We always do. I really do. I think that we're going to find a way forward. But in the interim, I have my worries. And you know what? I don't think inflation is going to stop. Even best case scenario, the Fed gets it at 2 or 3% a year. That's still 2 or 3% a year that collectively over time is eating into the value of your dollar and eroding the value of your dollar, your precious dollars that you work so hard for, which is one of the reasons why you need to diversify. You need to make sure that you're taking care of your retirement. It's one of the reasons why I like precious metals, specifically gold. So you ought to be looking, if you haven't already, you've heard me preach this, you need to be looking at things like gold. And when you do, I want you to call my friends at Legacy Precious Metals, the company I trust to invest in gold. Their number is 1-866-589-0560. Again, 1-866-589-0560. LegacyPMInvestments.com is their website, and they can help you right now, whether it's a gold-backed IRA or you want the physical stuff in your basement. It's not hard, but it's not easy. You really need the expertise of someone who understands the industry. So give them a ring. I think it's very helpful to do, because inflation is here. And you know what? Inflation is dangerous. Inflation is problematic. Inflation causes us to have less. So whether it's investing in gold or whether it's investing in more creative vehicles right now to sustain your wealth going forward, I think it's something that you've got to think about. So we've been talking about this crazy, crazy inflation. I mean, it was bad, 7.5%. We thought it was going to be bad, but not that bad. So what does it mean? How do you as an investor think about protecting your money right now? We've been looking at a very, very volatile stock market. Well, there are ways. You know, I promised you yesterday I'd have Charlie back on the show. So many of you reached out and said, what was that Charlie was talking about last week? Well, we are here to talk about it again with none other than Charlie Dombeck, who is part of KeyCity Capital, and he's got a lot of ideas for how you can protect your money in this kind of volatile environment. Really innovative ideas. So I'm excited to have him back on the program. Charlie, it's good to see you. Welcome back. Let me get you back up here. Here we go. KeyCity Capital has been sort of guiding investors in this treacherous time because people want to make sure that they still have something left to retire on, and judging by the 7.5% increase in inflation, I'm not sure they will.
Absolutely right. And, you know, for the last 6.5 to 7 months, we've been advising clients to take some of the market gains off the table to lock in their profits that they've realized in the past market cycle. And we've been redeploying capital into inflation protected investments. And there's a couple of asset classes that tend to perform in a counter-correlated manner to how the markets react to an inflationary environment. Two of those are passive investment real estate and alternatives like asset-backed lending, where your interest rates are tied to a rising interest rate environment. So they perform exceptionally well in a rising interest rate environment. And at KeyCity Capital, those are two of the investments that we sponsor. Of course, we are an investor and a provider of investments in the passive rental real estate market. Mm-hmm. Our property portfolios have been located in jurisdictions that have benefited from the COVID economy, predominantly Tennessee, Texas, and Florida. Mm-hmm. And then we have an asset-backed lending portfolio that makes collateralized loans in those jurisdictions as well. So we've been redeploying capital and taking profits off the table. I think we're still in an environment we have a lot of opportunity to do that. And if you think about the future, what is interest rate policy going to look like? And I like to look at history as a backdrop to what's happened in the past. If you look at how the Fed has used interest rate policy in the past, mm-hmm. typically they've used interest rate increases as a preemptive measure to stop inflation. We're in a very different environment now. We have to use interest rates as a tool to bring inflation down. Mm-hmm. We're at 7.5%. Like you said, we thought maybe 7.2 to 7.3. Yeah. Biden administration got it wrong. Yellen got it wrong. Powell got it wrong. Yeah. And I think they're still trying to react, and they still don't know what to do.
Okay, so with all that in mind, given that they still don't know what to do, and I would agree with you, Charlie, on that. I mean, they still haven't moved to raise rates. They need to be more aggressive on that front. But we'll see. I think inflation, any which way you turn, is probably here with us for the foreseeable future. Even if the Fed starts to raise rates, it's going to take some time to even out all these components. But one of people's concerns, and you mentioned that you're in the real estate investing business, one of people's concerns is, you know what, rates go up, people can't afford as much housing. What does that do to the real estate environment? How do you think about that, given the heaviness of real estate in your portfolio?
Well, it always creates a demand when people are priced out of a housing market for rental real estate. Mm-hmm. And we provide rental real estate in a segment that always has a tenant base, which is workforce housing. Mm-hmm. So think about it. If you get into a recessionary environment, people that are in A-class properties are going to move to, say, a B or C plus property. People in a strong economy you're always going to have tradesmen, lower level healthcare workers that need workforce housing. And in workforce housing, it is the segment of the rental real estate market where there is the largest shortage of inventory. And if you think about the jurisdictions in which we operate, where there's been massive population shifts, there's absolute amazing strong demand for this type of housing. Mm-hmm. And I always look at, well, what's the worst case? Worst case is you lose tenants. Well, in a worst case environment, our property is cash flow and we meet our investor responsibilities down to 65% occupancy. So we've risk tested our portfolio, and investors are always going to get a rate of return from what we call the fixed guaranteed premium, which is paid out at 8%. Plus, they get a share of operating profits on gains on sale. So when we're in a highly appreciating market with strong rent growth, the rates of return get to the high teens, mid 20s. And that's where we are right now in our portfolio.
Really interesting. You are also very particular. You've told me before, and I think a couple weeks ago we were talking about this, about the markets that you're investing in. What is special right now to you and unique about Texas, Florida, Tennessee?
Well, Texas, Florida, Tennessee, we've seen the major population shifts that continue to occur out of the upper Northeast, upper Midwest, and the West Coast, where these jurisdictions in which we operate have a competitive advantage from a safety, from a tax perspective. And so we're continuing to see people move to these states. And we're also getting major corporations moving into these jurisdictions because it's a much more favorable business and environment. And even if we see a cooling off of the housing market, there's going to be substantial demand in these economies because of the infrastructure needed to support the major corporate shifts to these environments.
Okay. Well, no, it's exciting what you're doing. I think people are very hungry right now to know, can I get some stability, right, in my portfolio? Because it's unclear. The market's, down yesterday, up today. Who knows what the future's going to hold? I do think that the volatile environment is back, which makes it really, really tough, especially for people that are living on that fixed income. One final thought before I let you go. One of the things that I know you really advocate for with your clients, and I think is really important, is making sure that you're maximizing the money that's coming in the door, right? I mean, if there are opportunities in one's inflows, right, to be saving money from a tax perspective, a lot of people don't understand what those vehicles might be.
Yeah, two things make a big difference in terms of how much and how fast you accumulate wealth. And that's how much you pay in state and federal income taxes and how well your investments perform. So here at KeyCity Capital, we don't just deploy capital into our preferred investments. We also help clients shelter income from taxation. And in every investment that we sponsor, there is a tax strategy embedded in those strategies. So for rental real estate, you get a K1 that gives you a complete offset to your preferred rates of return from depreciation. And in the interest rate environment on the asset-backed lending, we're able to distribute a capital gain rather than an ordinary income item. So preferred tax strategy-based investments that actually increase your after-tax rate of return. So it makes a big difference, again, in terms of how much and how fast your wealth accumulates.
That makes sense. All right. So for more information, they can go to KeyCity Capital. We've also got on the screen keycitycapital.com/Trish. We've been talking with Charlie Dombeck. Charlie, thank you for your time. It's just really helpful to have some perspective right now as we navigate through these very choppy markets and increasing inflation numbers. We look forward to talking to you again.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Charlie. Quick reminder, I am going to be today in just a couple of moments over live on Locals, which is part of Rumble. Everyone, I encourage you to go there. Go to trishregan.locals.com, trishregan.locals.com. I'll be there. I'll be taking your questions. I'll be reacting to your commentary. And even if you don't catch the live moment today, I'm there live every Friday. You know what? Just go and sign up. It's a wonderful social media platform where we can all connect. It's a nice little group. I encourage you to do that. You have a direct connection to me there, and it's kind of like a combination of Facebook and Twitter and all of these things, YouTube combined. So a very, very special place. And, I feel very confident about not having to worry about my First Amendment rights being trampled on. So go check out Locals. Again, trishregan.locals.com. I want you to have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you on the Locals platform over the weekend and back here, of course, as always, on Monday. Have a good one.